is Dr. Rob, a man who carries the weight of the future in a single medical book. He's on a ship bound for England with his pregnant wife Rebecca and a team of doctors hoping to find a sanctuary where knowledge can breathe. But the universe has a cruel sense of humor. Just as the English coast appears on the horizon, a violent storm rips the sky open. In the middle of the chaos, Rebecca goes into labor. Rob, ever the healer, guides his son into the world amidst the crashing waves, but the joy is short-lived. The ship hammers into the rocks, shattering their dreams in an instant. When morning breaks on the cold beach, Rob is holding his newborn son, but the sea has claimed Rebecca. He's a man broken by grief, standing on the edge of a land that fears the very skills he possesses. His friend Isaac has to practically shake him back to reality, reminding him that dozens died for his dream. He can't let it die here. They finally reach the gates of London, and the culture shock is immediate. The city is a grim, gray fortress of superstition. The guards demand extra tolls for their camel and drop a chilling warning. Jews and Muslims must be out by sunset. This isn't a place of healing, it's a place of shadows. While wandering the filth-strewn streets, Rob bumps into a young thief named Weasel. When a victim catches the boy and brutally dislocates his shoulder, the crowd watches like it's entertainment. Rob, unable to turn a blind eye, steps in and snaps the bone back into place with the ease of a master. It's a small act of mercy that earns them an unlikely guide to the medical guild. But the medical guild is a house of horrors. Rob watches in disbelief as the royal physician, Dr. Leafick, treats a man suffering from mental illness by literally kicking him and telling him he belongs in a cave. In the town square, the air is thick with the smell of smoke. 4 people are being burned, not because they're criminals, but because they're Celts, labeled as witches for their beliefs. Pacing the crowd is Godwin, an army leader who looks weary of the bloodshed. When the prisoners manage a desperate, bloody escape during the execution, you start to realize just how thin the line is between life and death in this city. Rob and Isaac eventually get an audience with the royal doctors, offering to share their advanced Persian knowledge. The response? Cold, hard prejudice. They're told that Hebrews aren't allowed to practice medicine and are dragged out like common criminals. But destiny has a way of finding Rob. A woman named Rose leads them to a secret room where the escaped Celts are hiding. One of them, Duff, has a leg so badly infected it smells of rot. The doctors in London would have just hacked it off, but Rob applies a specialized balm promising a cure. As he works, the Celts reveal the rot at the heart of the kingdom. The king's new wife, Queen Mercia, has fueled a holy war against pagans, yet despite her constant pregnancies, she has never produced a living heir. It's a kingdom built on secrets and blood. Among the rebels is Morgan, a woman who sees beyond Rob's science. She tells him that to heal others, he must first heal his own soul. Rob is a man of logic. He doesn't believe in soul pain. But Morgan forces him to feel her heartbeat, revealing she's dying. She puts him into a trance using ancient herbs, forcing him to confront the vision of his wife being dragged away by death. For the first time since the shipwreck, Rob truly weeps. He finally lets go of the ghost of Rebecca, and in doing so, he unlocks a new level of his gift. The ability to hear when a heart is about to stop. While Rob finds his footing, the palace is a nest of vipers. Dr. Hun, the other royal physician, is having a secret affair with Queen Mercia. The king is old and fading, kept in a drunken stupor so Mercia can rule through him. But even Hun is powerless when Godwin's wife falls deathly ill with fluid in her lungs. Desperate, Godwin ignores the guild's rules and brings his wife to Rob. In an abandoned ruin turned makeshift clinic, Rob performs a miracle. He makes a precise incision and drains the liquid, allowing her to breathe for the first time in weeks. Hun watches from the shadows, not with admiration, but with a dangerous, simmering envy. Word of the miracle doctor spreads like wildfire. When the nobles complain that the king hasn't been seen in a year, Godwin forces the queen's hand. He brings Rob into the royal chambers. The room is pitch black because they've been told sunlight hurts the king. Rob takes one look at King Canute and realizes the truth. The king isn't dying of a disease, he's dying of neglect and darkness. Rob tears down the heavy curtains, letting the sun flood in. Within weeks, the king is out hunting again. It's a triumph for Rob, but a death sentence for the royal doctors. Dr. Leafick, terrified of being exposed for keeping the king sick on purpose, is found dead shortly after. The message is clear: those who stand in Mercia's way don't last long. The king, grateful for his life, takes Rob to a convent to see his only daughter, Princess Eileen. She's been locked in a cell, treated like a rabid animal because they believe she's possessed by the devil. Rob sees past the madness. He frees her from her straitjacket, feeds her an apple, and slowly wins her trust. He discovers she's been drawing haunting images on her cell walls, masks of death and men with antlers. When Rob tries to use a trance ritual to help her remember what broke her mind, the king begins to suspect witchcraft. But the real danger is closer. Mercia and Hun have poisoned the king's skin bomb. As Rob is locked in the princess's cell, he watches through a tiny window as the king collapses and dies. Chaos erupts. The bishop labels Rob a murderer and a Celt spy. A furious mob descends on the clinic, burning everything. Rob's team barely escapes with their lives and the precious medical book, but they're eventually hunted down and caged. Mercia is now the absolute ruler, but she has one loose end. Eileen. She orders Godwin to kill the girl, but Godwin, finally seeing the queen for the monster she is, fakes the princess's death and releases Rob. He begs them to find Eileen in the Caves of Mercy, a nightmare realm where the crazy people are dumped to rot, and bring her back to claim the throne. The journey into the caves is a descent into hell. Rob and his friends find a subterranean society of the forgotten, some of whom have turned to cannibalism just to survive. They find Eileen terrified and feral and drag her back into the light. Meanwhile, back at the castle, Dr. Hun's guilt and ambition finally collide. He has the medical book, but he can't read it. He realizes he will never be the healer Rob is. In a final tragic act, he helps Rob's family escape, returns the book, and then takes his own life using the same poison he used on the king. The climax builds at a Celtic village where Rob performs one last ritual on Eileen. The memory finally breaks through. As a child, she saw Mercia, her father's friend, manipulate the king into murdering her mother. The trauma had buried itself so deep it looked like madness. With her mind restored, Eileen stands before the invading royal army. She doesn't fight with a sword. She fights with the truth. She reveals Mercia's treachery and claims the throne as both Celt and Christian, a bridge between two worlds. Mercia, realizing she's lost, tries one final desperate assassination, stabbing Eileen before being cut down by a hail of arrows. Eileen survives. The age of superstition begins to crumble, replaced by the hospital Rob always dreamed of. He even adds a new chapter to his book, one on the importance of mental health, proving that the mind needs as much care as the body. It's a story of how one man's refusal to stop learning changed the course of history. But it makes you wonder, in a world that fears what it doesn't understand, would you have the courage to be the light, or would you stay in the shadows to stay safe? Let me know in the comments if you think knowledge is worth dying for. Thanks for watching.